Good morning, Mac, and anyone who's watching episode 299 of GRAMidei reads stories for Mac. Happy Juneteenth, also known as Freedom Day. And we'll get into that in a minute. So it's June 19th. Is Juneteenth. It's an important American history holiday that we celebrate. And I wanted to read this book that I made, Happy Juneteenth. So I'm going to describe what's in here. I'm not going to read it word for word. And I'm so glad that I decided to do this because I did find a typo in the book that I already fixed. And so now I will take this one off the shelves and put the corrected one on so that it's accurate because it's important to know this. So here's the background. When I was working at a middle school, I had a colleague named Mr. Powell. So he was at the copy room one time. We were making copies, and he was talking about what his plans were for Juneteenth. And I was like, "What?" And I thought I misheard him. And I had never known. I was a grown woman before I knew about Juneteenth. And here's the worst part: I had taught U.S. history. I mean, I don't have a degree in history. I have multiple subject, and that's how I taught that. But it's not in the textbook. It's like nowhere. So I knew I needed to make a coloring book about this so that other people would learn about it. So shout out to Mr. Powell for this quick introduction, and let's get to it. So what is Juneteenth? It happens June 19th. Okay, so what happened was in 1860 to 1865, the Americans were fighting in the Civil War. So the North was against the South. Now, some people will say it was about secession. Some people will say it was about states' rights. Those things are true, but in the background of all of that, it was about slavery. Okay, so in the South, easily put, there was slavery and they liked it. They needed it, they relied on it. In the North, and this is obviously broad strokes, didn't like slavery, didn't have it, didn't rely on it. Okay. So as the United States was getting bigger and more states were being added on, the Southerners were afraid that the Northerners would overtake them in Congress and they would be voted out of their livelihood. Okay. So when Abraham Lincoln was elected president in 1860, uh, there were states in the South that seceded, they left the Union. Now, the Constitution doesn't have any provision for that. So we fought to bring them back in. That's called the Confederate States. Okay. So let me get back to the book. So everyone thought when the Civil War started that it was going to be like, boom, a 2-day war. It was 5 bloody, terrible years. The most damage done to Americans because we were fighting each other. So every loss in the South, that's an American loss. Every loss in the North, that's an American loss. So it was a deadly war for us. In 18, here's my typo problem. I wasn't catching. I put 9. Ugh. So in 1863, January 1st, Lincoln put forth the Emancipation Proclamation. What that said was that any state that was in rebellion against the United States, all the slaves that were there would be free. Okay. That was to help win the war. Okay. And bring it to a close. It didn't. It still went on for 2 more years. And it wasn't until April 9th in 1865 that the Confederates surrendered. Okay. Generally surrendered to Ulysses S. Grant, who later became the president. Okay. Now, remember, there's no news outlets, there's no feeds, there's no internet, there's none of those kind of communication. So it was slow, and a lot of people didn't know. Also, it didn't help that right after the Civil War, on April 14th, Lincoln was assassinated. Okay. And he died the next day on April 15th. So that news was slow to get out as well. Battles were still going on, fighting North versus South on land and at sea because they didn't know that the war was over. So officially, the war comes to a conclusion when the vice president, who was Andrew Johnson, who was a Southern sympathizer, so that means he was more in line with the Southern ideals, he actually signs and declares that the war is over on August 20th in 1866. Okay, so it took a while. So here, now we get back to Juneteenth. So people in Galveston, Texas, enslaved people did not know about the Emancipation Proclamation that would have freed them legally years earlier. And they didn't know about the end of the Civil War. So on June 19th, 1865, Union soldiers arrived and put a notice on the door and told people, the Civil War is over, slavery is over as well. Okay, so that's why this date holds a special place in American history. It's called General Order Number 3. It came from General Gordon Granger, and it was in Galveston, Texas, and that's the official news. I mean, can you imagine you've lived your life in bondage and slavery, and you just this day you get a notice and like it's over, your nightmare is over. Like I can't imagine what that would be like. The original notice is in the National Archives in Washington, D.C., so you can go and see the actual document, which is amazing. Now, I'm going to read the whole thing, what it actually says, because it's pretty short, but it doesn't end well. That's what I'll say. It says, the people of Texas are informed that in accordance with a proclamation from the executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of personal rights and rights of property between former master and slaves. And the connection heretofore existing between them becomes that of between employer and hired labor. The freedmen are advised to remain quietly at their present homes and work for wages. They are informed that they will not be allowed to collect at military posts and that they will not be supported in idleness either there or elsewhere. So it starts off great. Hey, you're no longer free. If you still want to work for this guy, he has to pay you, right, as an employee. And then the weird veiled racism at the end. It just kind of, I write that it kind of foreshadows the problem that we're still going to have with equality. So Juneteenth is the oldest known commemoration of this event, the ending of slavery. And let's see. Oh, some other names that it is called. Freedom Day, which is on the slide, Freedom Day. Also Jubilee Day, Liberation Day, Emancipation Day, Second Independence Day, and Black 4th of July. So let me explain those last two. When the Declaration of Independence was signed, right, in 1776, on July 4th, right, it says that we were free from British rule, but we weren't all free because we still had slavery then. So it's kind of a touchy situation because you can't say, yay, we're free when there's people in bondage. It kind of doesn't make sense. It's cruelly ironic. So that's why this day is sometimes called Second Independence Day or Black Independence Day or Black 4th of July, because truly free. Makes sense. Okay. Juneteenth is just kind of like a contraction. So June and 19th together, Juneteenth. Got it. Let's see. Oh, it was first celebrated the year after the notification, the first celebration of Juneteenth. So that would be June 19th, 1866, a year later. And so I want to make this really clear, like this page that I put in here, it's not a celebration just for this date. It's really a day to commemorate and think about the ongoing struggle for equality and freedom that still exists in this country. Okay. For women, for people of color, for immigration status, we are still striving for this ideal that all men are created equal. Human, women, all people, this ideal. We don't always hit the mark. And then here's some other information. The official end of slavery everywhere in the United States happened with the ratification of the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, which ended slavery and involuntary servitude. However, it also has a strange carve out in Section 1 where it says, unless the party was duly convicted. So that means if someone is incarcerated, they can basically be involuntary servitude, meaning you don't want to be in prison, but you're there and you can be forced to work. It's a weird legal kind of loophole. That's why you see people who are incarcerated who work for like 10 cents an hour. Or even like California is notorious for our fire season, but we have people who are in prison who go and fight fires for us for like a ridiculously slow and low amount of pay. In 2021, Joe Biden signed this into law. So it's called the Juneteenth National Independence Day Act. Okay, so this makes it a national holiday. So that means federal offices are closed, courts are closed, some schools are closed, most schools would. Some states, though, like this morning, I just read a thing about West Virginia saying that they weren't going to pay their workers for this holiday anymore. So it is a federal holiday, though. So federal branches are closed. Federal employees would get paid if they do have to work on this day. It's a federal holiday. Okay. Oh, there is a flag that I'm going to talk about. It was made in 1997, according to my research that I double checked in 3 spots, by Ben Haith, and then it got kind of refined by Lisa Graff in 2000. So it looks like this, and there's kind of 2 versions. Some that has the date, June 19th, 1865, and some without the date. So let me explain it. It's red, white, and blue to explain that any enslaved people and their descendants are Americans. That's just how it is. So it's red, white, and blue. The white star in the middle is to represent the Lone Star State, Texas, where it happened. This explosion around it is supposed to be opportunities and a new beginning. This horizon, the reason why it's bent and not just a flat horizontal bar, is to represent like there's hope and there's going to be a better future. So like there's a better horizon waiting for you. Often on this day, there might be parades, celebrations, community events, cooking, discussion panels. It's really a day for all Americans to reflect on the history of slavery, how equal rights, freedom, how far we've come, how many setbacks we've had, the work that still needs to be done. A lot of times, because this also happens in the summer, you're going to get cookouts, barbecues, those kind of family gatherings. What else? Oh, some people also decide to give back on this day, like a day for volunteerism. And like any day is a great day to celebrate African American culture, but especially this day, right? Reflect on it all. It's also a day to kind of just think and honor the struggle that everyone has gone through, because this affects every American, right? Well, I would even say the world. Anytime that someone is oppressed, that's a problem. So there's also no right or wrong way to celebrate this day. I can celebrate this day. It's not a Black holiday. It's not a day. It's not like that. It's a day to think about our American history and what happened on this day in 1865. So that's where it started and originated with. My plans for today is this little recording, and to also have a little cookout with my kids. It can also be a celebration day. It can also be a quiet reflection. It can be a mix of both those, right? The last thing that you often will see, and I would say this is probably more true the closer you get to Texas, and definitely the closer you get to Galveston, the bigger the celebration is going to be, or the bigger offering of different things that you can participate in. You're also going to see a lot of red food items. So here's the history of that, at least what I found from several different authors and museums and such, is that red typically, if you're looking at what it symbolizes, it would be sacrifice. So there might be like red velvet cake, red punch, red fruits, red whatever. So if you see that at one of those, if you see red foods at a Juneteenth celebration, it often is because summer foods, outing, families are together, a lot of kids are out of school, so there's that. But also the red foods to symbolize the sacrifice. Okay, so that's what that's about. And just another, if you want to do a greeting on this day, you could just say Happy Juneteenth. That's it. Happy Juneteenth. That's it. And if you want to participate, again, just want to reiterate, it's a holiday for all Americans, because this is everyone's history, right? And yeah, just to think about the progress that we have made, and where we still have lots of room to grow. So anyway, Happy Juneteenth.